Okay. Now I have to start my ramble again. So I can't even remember where I got to. So I'm just going to start at the beginning. And we're also recording this. I remember to hit record all the way from the start. So we've probably got about 10 minutes to cut off. But yeah. All right. So where do we start? The avatar drop. I honestly probably didn't realize how hard COVID had hit me while it was all going on, and still has, to be honest. Like I'll come on to Christmas breaks in a second, but the avatar drop was very, very painful, and then we managed to get it over the line, which sets us up really well for the future of this whole project. So, you know, when we dropped multipass originally and we had that wait, we knew that there was going to be a bit of a slowdown in momentum, and we've talked about this on the AMAs before. We see it in Discord as well. So, you know, there's times when everybody's really, really excited about what we're doing, which is exactly the same for us as well. And there's times when we start to get more and more questions about, what are you guys up to? What are you doing now? What are you doing now? Which is completely fair. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just quite interesting to see how things develop. So, yeah, like I say, the avatar drop, there was a lot of pain. And it was because of the other marketplace that we are doing, or we're trying and have built into the contract. So I'll come on to this marketplace in a second, because there's still a question mark over whether or not we will drop onto it. But we had to build the tech in. So with the avatars, if we hadn't done, it would never have been possible to launch on this second marketplace without doing a whole load of reworks and a whole load of rewrites. So what we did instead was say, right, let's build it into this. And if we use it, we use it. If we don't, we don't. It turned out that the amount of code needed to drop onto this other marketplace was too much for the blockchain. So what happened was, when we tried to put the contracts onto the blockchain, it all just failed because there was too much code in there. I think we went from I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was like 50,000 lines all the way up to 250,000 lines of code because of this integration. We realised that quite late on. There's also complexities around how we push avatars into each of the different marketplaces. So the logic needs to be, if you mint a multipass into Marketplace 2, then in theory your avatar should also only ever be pushed into Marketplace 2. But making that happen with our contract is very, very difficult. So we ended up with this whole spaghetti mess of stuff that was going on. And I hinted at this in the AMA just before we were due to drop avatars. I said, I think Mobsy probably asked how we thought things were going. And this was the biggest complexity. It got way more painful as I got more sick, and it just ended up in a little bit of a, not a mess, but it ended up delaying us. So we had that kind of 48-hour period where we were meant to have dropped avatars already. We weren't able to. So we ended up being late. Happily, we got everything out. So 48 hours isn't the end of the world. It's not ideal because, we are perfectionists and we didn't want to have that kind of delay, but it ended up not being avoidable. So firstly, genuinely sorry that we were delayed by those 48 hours. I know it's not the worst thing that could happen to a project. There's far more major things that happened, that do happen, but yeah, not ideal. But also thank you, the patience that you guys showed. And to a point, we were lucky because not that many people really wanted to mint a level 1 avatar. It's not as if we were delayed by 48 hours giving you the Awakened token or cities or what have you. So we were a bit lucky with that. But the patience that everybody did show and the support that you gave was really, really appreciated. And we always appreciate that. So again, thank you. Coming back onto the thing that I talked about, kind of busy and being sick and that kind of stuff, we are going to take a bit of downtime over Christmas. We've already noticed that Discord is quieter. Some people are off, but I think the majority are kind of seeing families and doing all of that kind of stuff. As a team, we all have significant others and kids and all of those kinds of things to keep in mind. So we are going to take a bit of downtime. Doesn't mean we're going to disappear completely, but it will be that we're kind of not around all day, every day in Discord, or we might not be around all day, every day in Discord. It depends how things go. So yeah, we are going to take a bit of a break. Having said that, behind the scenes, there is a lot going on. So the next step to this, and again, talked about this on the AMA last time, was that we are doing our very, very best to bring the game forward as much as possible. So we are knee deep in tech specs and all of that kind of stuff at the moment. There's a huge amount going on. but it's not visible. And I think one of the problems that we have as a project at the moment is that we haven't had enough visible stuff going on. So we are going to work as hard as we possibly can to fix this. It might mean that we need to change our plans internally slightly. And what may happen, and again, like I'm not going to talk in too much detail and promise too much because of the tech spec work that's going on, but it may be that we phase how we drop the game. So instead of kind of dropping real estate and the game all at the same time, for example, what you might find that happens is that we start to drop real estate at a certain point in the not too distant future. And then a little bit later on, we build that into the game afterwards. So there's more stuff going on that's more visible, which is great for you guys because you kind of get that extra stuff that's happening. But also, we get asked about marketing quite a lot. And we've always said, like, marketing, yes, we kind of put budget and we put time and effort into it, but it's also about having a great product. So what we're going to do is like try and make sure that everything we do is as high quality as possible, which we've always had as an ethos. There's some question marks from a few people I've seen in Discord over level 1 avatars. Like that's normal. They are level 1. Art's also subjective. So you take the fact that these avatars are at kind of the base level and aren't kind of completely souped up and have everything on them yet. That's kind of natural, but we are doing everything to the highest quality that we possibly can, and that will carry through into real estate and so on as well. So yeah, like I say, over Christmas, maybe a bit of a break, but don't for a moment think that we are not working our absolute backsides off to deliver all of this, because we are. Like, yes, we are a long-term project. Yes, there's a lot of waiting around, but we are on this and thinking about this 24/7. And again, there's some questions I think later on about like going full time and all of that kind of stuff, which I'll come on to soon. So yeah, that's kind of us. Avatar drop we're happy with. Second marketplace, we'll see. We might decide to drop. We might decide that we don't. So bear with us on that. I know it's something we've talked about a little bit, but there is still that question mark. Downtime over Christmas, but the game is our primary focus now, and we're working as hard and as fast as we can to get that delivered. So yeah, that covers me for now. I'll come on to the questions in a second, but I'm going to hand over to Twicky to give a bit of an update on the 12 days and a few other bits and pieces as well.
Awesome, thank you. So Vortex and I had a lot of fun running the 12 days giveaways. Sadly, it's come to an end, but that kind of means that we can have a bit of a break and a bit of a refresh and come up with some new things for the new year, which will be good. There were a couple of the days giveaways that we haven't announced yet, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to do that now. The first of the two was the quarter ETH, or 0.25 ETH, that we were giving away for people that had minted an avatar. You were given up until midnight on Sunday to do so. And I think we had around, I'm going to get it wrong, I'm going to say 123 avatars that were minted by that particular time. The random number generator managed to pick out number 111. So if you want to go and have a look at that avatar, you can. It's a very, very cool one, and it's owned by somebody called DHII. If you can get in contact with me, please, because I don't actually know what you're going to be called in the server, that would be great, and we can sort out your prize. The last giveaway that was done on day 12 was Vortex and I's little quiz. You know how much we like a quiz, and we had quite a lot of fun putting the questions together. So we've gone through the results. There were a couple of questions that caused a little bit of a controversy, should I say. So there was a question, I think it was number 20, that was about the number of days between the levels 2 and 3 on the multipass. We've decided to exclude that question because the answers weren't right and didn't seem to match up with things that you could find. So effectively, there are 24 questions that were left. Of those, we had another one that we should have been a little bit more specific about how we'd written the question, which related to how many multipasses did the most person own. We should have staked that to a particular date and time to make it relevant, because it moved during the time that you were answering the questions. So what we've actually done is gone through the answers in relation to when you submitted your answers to work out whether you were right at that particular time. It's taken a little bit longer than I was hoping. What I'm going to do is just fly through the answers really, really quickly for you guys. I will publish these into the server so you can have a look. And as requested by CacDaddy, we will put up a league table so you can see how you scored against your peers. So I'm sure you're all really looking forward to that. So quickly then, the questions that we asked were, what's the minimum number of multipasses that you'd need to get a level 4 avatar? The answer to that is 1. You just needed to hold on to it and wait for it to level up to level 4. Question 2 was, which of the cities is not one of the ones in the Awakened universe? And that was actually Moscow. It was part of the original map, but was taken off when we asked you guys to make some suggestions for new cities. Which film inspired the upgradable NFT at the heart of the project? That was Fifth Element, of course. There's been lots of memes and videos and various other bits and pieces that have been in the server, so hopefully you picked up on that over the time. What's the largest number of multipasses held by one wallet? Well, when Vortex and I wrote the quiz, it was 38. I now believe that somebody actually owns more. I'm looking at Awakened. It's 44 that somebody now owns. So thank you to whoever increased their holding. That was very useful. We appreciate you, but also thanks for making it more difficult for us to work the answers out. How many different weapons does the average avatar have? There are 13 as an average across the avatars. Some of them have slightly less, but as an average, there is 13. What percentage of resale royalties will be paid into the community wallet? That was 30% and probably should have been fairly easy for you guys to find from the website. The date the Awaken Discord launched was October the 11th, I believe. And how many multi-passes will be minted? This caught a few of you out. We did put 10,000 in there for a reason. We were asking about multi-passes, not avatars. So actually, we don't know how many multi-passes will be minted over the course of the project because we don't know what you guys are going to do with them. First character, one character to be launched was actually Hollow X. Some of you got a little bit confused there between Hollow X and C, which is fine. Name of the artists working on the Awaken comic were actually Ray Dillon and René Delise. My particular favourite answer there, thanks Vortex, was Ross and Rachel, but that obviously shows my interest in TV programmes. Minting first went live for the first batch of multi-passes. I'm going to say it was the 20... Oh, wait, Waken's looking a bit. I think it was the 27th. Anyway, I will put the right answer in the server for you in case I've got it wrong. ETH's all-time high, we actually had that based on coin market cap at 4,891,070 cents. So I had some messages from people saying it was different on different platforms. So apologies if that confused you. Vortex put in...
I was actually stuffing my face then. I haven't had dinner. So I had a mouthful full of pasta when I was looked at over the 27th question. It was the 27th. You were right. Well done.
Thank you. What's Tricky's favourite drink? I like anything that's alcoholic, but for the purposes of this survey, it was gin. What is Awaken's favourite game? If any of you have actually been in the Discord and noticed, it's Call of Duty. Its little pop thing pops up against his name when he's playing. Which member of the team spent the summer cycling around Europe? This one caused quite a lot of you some difficulty. I didn't actually think it had been mentioned on the server at all, but some very cunning ones amongst you managed to find some references from Vortex about his time cycling around Europe. So who knew? Standard of the multipass token is ERC 1155. Which of the following is not an Awakened character? Between Lucille, Arena, Rocker and Degen is obviously Rocker, although that sounds like a pretty cool character. We could probably drop that one in later. What do you have to do to upgrade your multipass? There were a few options here. The answer is nothing. It does it itself, so you just have to sit and wait. Hardware that Ahura uses for his drawings is apparently a Microsoft Surface Pro. We actually found that from the server ourselves, so thanks for that, Ahura. Skipping question 20. If you use a level 4 multipass to upgrade a level 1 avatar, what level will your avatar be? It's quite simply level 4. We've removed all of the probabilities around what you might mint at which level. So if it's a level 4 multipass, it's a level 4 avatar. The edited version of the Christmas movie poster was, of course, Home Alone. The hacker was found to be in possession of a cipher that was decoded as Hacker Wins. I personally liked Twicky for Prez, but, can't have everything. DGen's ex-wife described him as emotionally unavailable, which you probably would have picked up from some of the tweets. And the last question about which character described themselves as liking long walks, Malbec skulls, and being a total badass. I personally think that might be me, but actually it's Tina, or Tana, however you say her name. So those, I will put the questions and answers up into the server for you guys anyway, and I'm sure that somebody will tell me I've worked it out wrong, but never mind, I'll come back to that later. So the results of the quiz. As I say, we did have to go through it a few times. There's half an ETH up for grabs here, so obviously we want to make sure that we got it right. And actually, out of everybody, we only had one person that managed to answer all of the questions correctly. And I need to find the sheet that tells me who that is. It's user, whoever you are. I will drop that into the server as well. So if you want to drop me a DM, we can sort out your prize. There were a few people that were one behind. I think 3 people. Another 3 or 4 people that managed to get 22 out of 24, and then a whole load of you that were around 21. So you did really, really well. But you were pretty good at trying to find out the answers. So well done. I think that's possibly it for me and the giveaways for now. I'll update everything in the server anyway, so people can catch up with it. But thanks very much for taking part. We really enjoyed it. I hope you did too.
Awesome, thank you. It was a really cool quiz. I actually didn't know the answers to all of them either, and I've known Vortex for a little while now and didn't know the cycling answer. My guess would have been Ohora, but obviously not. So it was really good. All right, let's move on to some questions. So there's not as many, given that people aren't quite as around at the moment, but there's plenty. So I will try and get through them in the next half an hour, because we're going to maybe drop into Discord afterwards and do a couple of bits and pieces. Let's go through these. So the first one from OG Burton Brown. Please shed some light on who the badass is in the banner, and will it be a character we can use? All right, I'm not going to tell any of the story, but this ties into a couple of answers actually. So firstly, will it be a character that we can use? Almost certainly yes. It is not one that we've ever planned to have at levels 1 or 2, but very, very likely that we will see said person at levels 3 or 4. The only reason that wouldn't happen is if they become a 1 of 1 for any reason. So we will shed some light on that. That also ties into us needing to write some lore. So one thing we're very aware of is that there's a whole load of kind of story that sits behind Awakened that for the most part, and I've been rightly shouted at over this, just sits in my head. And it's in notes, and there's some stuff that's been mentioned on AMAs and on the Discord server and so on, but it's something that's sat in my head for a very long time. So when we started writing the comic, I went through a really kind of good process with, actually an old friend helped with the script for the comic, and she kind of sat there, and she's a very good, blunt, talented writer who can tease information out of people incredibly well. So we sat there and we went through stuff over a couple of calls, and she asked a load of questions and threw some ideas in. Honestly, the script is really, really cool, and the first version that we've had back from the comic is great as well. But what we've decided is that we're going to use this person to help us write some lore. So nothing can start over the Christmas period, but we are going to spend some time in kind of January trying to get a few bits and pieces written and start to map out more of a storyline so that you can see more around these characters, who they are, what they do. We need to be careful that we don't put too many spoilers in for the comic, because obviously a lot comes out of that. But we're going to start writing some stuff, and we'll be dropping that in soon. Next, Alex in Oslo, do you have any more insight into what level 1 avatars can do, or what are the benefits of having one? Yeah, I mean, I know it's subjective, but if you like the avatar that you've got, you get a new cool PFP that you can use, so that's a good start. There is also more benefits, and just because you can't see them yet doesn't mean that they aren't there. So all I would say is hang tight with that, and there is a limited time period at the moment for level 1 avatars to be a thing. I know we're talking about dropping more multi-passes in the future, but right now there is a limited time period where level 1 avatars can be minted, because eventually the multi-passes will run out. So yeah, just because you can't see the extra benefits doesn't mean that we don't know what they are, and at some point in the not too distant future you will too. Shizu, I hope that's how you say it, shizu.eth. List of pros and cons to minting an avatar now versus minting when you have more upgraded multi-passes. All right, so this goes back to Alex's question. Honestly, right now, there are probably more benefits to holding than there are to minting. And it's kind of up to you as to whether you want to roll the dice. And when we started this project, I was very clear that we are going to kind of play some games, and we're going to mess with you all a little bit. Now, that hasn't happened anywhere near as much as we wanted to for the first couple of months or so, purely because it just got so busy. Like, you know, you come into this space, and we've built games in the past, and we've built big tech projects. Like, you know, one of my backgrounds was in IT, building out massive IT projects. And this, to be honest, is more difficult because the space is a very, very, very tricky place to operate. So, and we're always really transparent. And one thing I'll be transparent about now is that we probably underestimated the complexity and the amount of work that would just be needed to get us to this point successfully. If we'd have launched maybe 6 or 8 weeks before, it might have been a bit different, because the space moved on quite quickly just as Awaken was becoming a thing. So we had to work a lot harder for marketing and for the initial drop, and we've had to work a lot harder to kind of keep things moving in the momentum as well. We also gave ourselves a lot to do with the art. So, you know, with the number of avatars and levels and real estate that's coming soon, the game and so on, we gave ourselves a lot to do with both the creative and the tech side of things. So the outcome of that has been that we haven't had as much time to do the fun stuff that we really want to do. And we really, honestly, we cannot wait, and we really want to get back to that fun stuff, because the last 4 to 5 weeks definitely felt like a grind. So what you are 100% going to find is that over the next few weeks, at the start of 22, we will be starting to have some fun. So just keep that in mind. But right now, honestly, if you want a level 1 avatar and you like the look of them, great. If you want to roll the dice and think, well, maybe I'll get the benefits of something, then might be worth rolling the dice. But I can't promise that you'll be ecstatic, and I won't say that you won't be disappointed either. It depends on how you feel about things in the end. Miss 3. Hey, Awaken team, love this project. Thank you, we do too. Art style and hold many. I love this project, art style, and hold many multi-passes. Thank you as a good start. Anybody who's minted many, we say thank you to. But also, if you just minted one, we'll say thank you as well. I saw Neo Tokyo NFTs and how they did a city background for their NFT avatar instead of a block color. Is this something you consider doing in the future, i.e. the background of the character relates to the city that they live in? Merry Christmas. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too. So probably not. The backgrounds are randomly generated, and I'm not sure we would change that now that's how we've launched. Having said that, there will be very, very noticeable differences in the real estate between the different cities. So that's when you'll start to see differences between Tokyo and New York, for example. So yeah, great idea though. Really good idea, but we'll probably do that more with the real estate. Donatos, I could eat a donut now. Donatos, after launching a new set of mint passes, multi-passes, come on, given that there is more supply, the value for the project seems to have dropped. Any plans to ensure value moving forwards and incentivize holders, especially for those that minted the first gen? Doesn't seem like we got rewarded for holding, and the newly minted passes actually got rewarded. All right, so the newly minted passes actually got rewarded comment. Not sure that's entirely fair, if I'm honest with you. There's a few things to this. So firstly, if you minted the first gen, you're ahead. So straight away, you're already at level 1. You'll reach levels 2, 3, and 4 way more quickly than anybody else. So you get benefit there. There's no question of that. That being said, I'm very aware that you are kind of putting faith in us as a team. So by holding, you are putting faith in whatever comes next is going to be fun and hopefully add value to you. So that's something that we are crystal clear on. The 12 days, though, as an example, like the giveaway, the vast majority were for holders. Some were for anybody, but the vast majority were for holders. And one of the things that we get pushed on quite often is marketing. So if we do everything just for you guys that already hold, then that adds value back into you. So you get entered into the one-of-one characters and the giveaways and so on. But then we don't get in front of more people. So with the 12 days, we were kind of very considered in how we wanted to do that. And the majority should go back into you for obvious reasons. But we wanted to do some stuff that maybe got us in front of some new people as well. So that's kind of where we are now. In the future, yeah, absolutely. So as we move forward, there will be more incentives and more reasons that as holders you feel like you've got the benefit that you deserve. That will come through things like the game, like real estate, and probably from us fucking around and doing some fun stuff that you'll be able to get involved with. So that's all coming, and the token, of course, as well. Mobsy, love this question. It's favorite one to answer every AMA. So, or maybe Alex's are sometimes slightly more interesting, but in a very different way. As always, I would love to hear your opinion on how is the project progression going. Are we on or behind the schedule? I don't know, to be honest with you. I should know the answer to that. I think that this last few weeks has been tough. I'm not going to lie about that. I mentioned it earlier on. So are we on schedule? We are probably on schedule for the original plan, but I don't think we have moved as fast as we possibly should have done. So, if you go back to the very start of this, we were like, right, let's drop multipass, and then we'll have a bit of waiting around. Then we'll do some avatars, and then we might wait around for a little bit longer, and then we'll do the game, and then we'll do some other stuff that we haven't talked about yet. Now, that's all fine on paper, and then you get kind of thrown into the NFT space. And we knew what it was like because we've been involved in this space already, but we decided we were going to be different, and we were going to kind of hold things and move a little bit more slowly. And there's plenty of projects that have done that. So Neo Tokyo is one that keeps getting mentioned. Great example. There was the kind of the treasure hunt, for want of a better word. My brain's not working. There was a treasure hunt to kind of get that project moving, and then they've seeded in vault cards and so on and so on. And now we're on to season 2. So that has moved at possibly a slower pace than Awakened has. It's very successful because of the people behind it, and they're great, and I love that. Honestly, like Neo Tokyo is the one project that I regret not buying into or not spending the time to get into. So yeah, they're successful because it's cool and because they are big personalities. There's plenty of other projects as well. So you look at the likes of Coin Games, for example. They did a drop. They have their dev squad, and they're going to take a reasonable amount of time to build out that project. There's still stuff going on, but it's not that busy. So there's projects that do move slowly, but there's all other projects that move really, really quickly as well. And you're constantly, as a project owner, comparing yourselves to all of these other projects. So we feel like things are going okay to good. Sometimes we feel like they're going amazingly. Sometimes we want to go and jump off a bridge because that's just the nature of the space. So yeah, coming back to your original question and to actually make a point instead of just rambling, which is my usual style, I think the progression is good. I think we need to move faster as a team, and I think a lot of that is on me now that we've got through avatars to actually say that I cannot kind of plan all of this out and think about it myself, and I need to involve the likes of Twicky and the likes of Vortex and the larger dev team that we're working with as well on the game and so on. Not just in kind of delivery and doing stuff, but in actually kind of taking a step back and properly planning all this out and mapping it out as well. Because as a team, we work really, really well together. But it has been a difficult 4 weeks. So I think we need to reshape things a little bit over the next couple of weeks and over Christmas when we've got that time to take a step back, and then really kick on and move things as quickly as we can. So yeah, it probably sounded like I was being a bit negative there, and that's definitely not the case. I'm not thinking negatively at all, but just being realistic about what we actually want to achieve and what we want to do and the value that we want to add back into everybody who is an avatar or a multipass holder. Like we put a lot of pressure, probably more pressure on ourselves than any of you ever will, to make this as good as it possibly can be. Because again, as a project owner, you look at the number of multipasses that people hold, which is anything from 1 to 44. But that's a real investment, to actually spend ETH and invest into a project and be involved in Discord and turn up to these AMAs and get involved in the community. That's an investment of time and money and headspace that you could be spending elsewhere. So we feel, and I know not all projects do this, but as a project, we feel very, very grateful for the fact that you do that. So we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to give you the most possible value. And that is a constant kind of throw up between, do we move quickly? Do we get the best possible outcome? And the real answer is that there's no right answer. We just have to do what we think is best. And that's what we're always trying to do. Very long answer there. Apologies. Next, Fusion Boy 69. Are the gear tokens coming out prior to the land so that those of us who are broke can maximize our multipasses? Yeah, they will be. So gear tokens will definitely drop before real estate. They will drop in line with the level 2 avatars. So they are definitely on the way. You made a comment there about those of us who are broke. Now, one thing that we are thinking about is how we can add some more value to original holders when it comes to real estate. And that might mean that you don't actually have to spend more ETH. It might mean that there are just some gas fees and we do some kind of free or very, very low priced drops to original multipass holders. So I'm being a little bit cryptic there. As always, seems to be what I always end up doing on these AMAs. But keep in mind that we are not here just to rinse you out of more ETH when the game and when real estate drops. We are here to reward you for the fact that you've already bought in with a multipass. And multipass kind of does what it says on the tin. It does multiple things. So keep that in mind. All right, next, marketing and community. SP3, I love what you guys are doing. Thank you. I understand this is a long-term hold. Good. I'm just curious on what ideas you have for marketing. Yeah, we keep getting asked about this. It's all about momentum. So to start with, and I said it earlier on, I'll say it again, we have to have the best possible product that we can have. Otherwise, we can market the shit out of it and it will never do anything. So, we always start with, let's have a project that is a little bit different, maybe a little bit risky because it is different and we move in a slightly different way to other projects, but we'll do the best possible job. And that is at the core of our marketing. We believe that if we do that, everything else follows. Now, if you look at the kind of YouTubers that we had some coverage with at the very start of the project and some others that have covered us throughout as well, that was great because they saw that potential. What we now have to do is live up to that potential as we move into the next phase. So we have relationships with the likes of Ryan and Crypto Gorilla and 4 or 5 other people who have dropped videos. I'm not going to go back to them and say, can you drop another video now, please? Just because we have a tiny little thing going on. It needs to be the next kind of big step when we start really pushing on the marketing side. So we're whitelisted for Reddit ads, as an example. We've run some Reddit ads. They did pretty well, but they're paused at the moment because if we do some marketing now, like what's the point? We haven't got another drop coming up. Yes, we might get a few more people into the project, but we're in another quiet period. So as we start to move into real estate and move in towards the game as well, assuming that we get the product right, so the real estate artwork is as good as it possibly can be, and assuming we've got a compelling story behind it, everything else should follow. That being said, again, any ideas that you have for marketing, just to flip it around, tell us. If you think we should be doing more on, I don't know, Twitter, for example, or if we've got an opportunity to, I'm a bit old, so if we've got some opportunities to do more on TikTok, then fine. Let's have that conversation. I'm getting laughed at the moment. Next, Alex Beeger. is there any chance to get full-time in this project, or will it always stay something you do in your spare time? I'm going to cover this in more detail because we've been asked a few times, so I will talk a little bit more about it and give you a more in-depth answer than we've given before. The rest of your question, though, are you thinking of hiring somebody to deal with the parts of the project you don't have the time for? And do you have any plans regarding strategic partnerships with other projects, or maybe some big names to get involved? All right, I'm going to skip the last one of that for now, and I'll come back to it. But those first two parts of your question. I've mentioned a few times that this is not a full-time project for all of us. That being said, we do spend the amount of time that is needed to deliver this. Now, some of the reason that sometimes things have moved a little bit more slowly than we possibly would have liked is, for the most part, on me. Like, I got hyper-focused just on avatar delivery, for example. But I mentioned before, like, I need to take a step back and actually do a better job at managing this and getting the right people involved. So if you look at Twicky and Vortex, for example, although they... without kind of talking about what our actual jobs are, it's hard to answer this, but they basically work on Awakened as much as they need to. So there is the possibility that they could do 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, just on Awakened. Genuinely, we don't need to spend that level of time for the roles that we have. Between kind of evenings and lunchtimes and mornings and weekends and every single other waking hour, we do have the time to be able to do what we need to do. I'm awakened. Twicky and Vortex spend time during the day kind of doing what they need to do. I get the time that I need as well, so that's all fine. Hiring someone to deal with the parts of the project you don't have the time for, that already happens, and I'm a bit surprised at this question because I thought we'd been clear about it, but obviously haven't. So if you think about design, for example, O'Hara was full-time on this for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then we hired a couple of extra designers to come in and support him to make sure that we could get level 1 and 2 done in time for the initial drop. So we were a little bit ahead in terms of design. So that's just one example of where we are or do have people who are full-time just working on a specific part of the project. Dev has been a bit of an issue, not through anybody's fault. The dev that has worked on this up until now and will continue to be involved, he spent the time that was needed. Could we have got some extra support in hindsight? Possibly. Did we need it until that second marketplace came along and threw a massive spanner in the works? No. That was just kind of something that happened through the situation and a potential opportunity. But as we move into the game and real estate and so on, we know that we need more people involved to spend more time. So we are investing and are very, very, very happy to invest the money that we got through the original mint and through the second drop as well into bringing the right people in to spend the right amount of time on this project. So just because I kind of say that this isn't my full-time job, or it's not Twicky's full-time job or Vortex's full-time job, don't underestimate the amount of time that is spent on this. And if people need to be full-time on it, we are 100% open to that. Could I ever go full-time on it? Yes. Is it feasible right now or in the next 6 months? Honestly, probably not, just because of other businesses and so on. But it doesn't need it. It honestly doesn't need it. Like we will spend the time that's needed. Do you have any plans regarding strategic partnerships with other projects or maybe some big names to get involved? Yeah, we had a conversation, I think it was yesterday, about this, and I've talked about it before as well, around going and finding a couple of other projects that we could work a little bit more closely with. We had Mecha Chaotic, which was reasonably successful as a kind of a short-term one. There's no reason that we couldn't have a longer-term strategic partnership with another project. We were approached a little while ago by a reasonably large project, and there's been some back and forth. Whether or not it's quite the right fit or quite the right project to get involved with, not convinced. But there are opportunities out there, especially at the moment, because there's some kind of older projects with bigger audiences that have kind of faded a little bit while they work on other stuff. So yeah, there is potential for that to happen. Next up, Sue. Hello, Awakened. I hope you're doing well and better at the moment. Thank you. What are the future next steps for promotion since level 2 is coming, and is the second marketplace offer off the table? No, it's not off the table. We do have a decision to make as to whether we move forward with it, and it kind of depends on their offer as well, and how well that stacks up, because it adds a lot of complexity into the project and how things are minted and where they're pushed to. I'm mindful of time, so I'm not going to talk about it in loads of detail now, but we could always have a chat about this on Discord separately. Next steps for promotion, I think I've covered that in enough detail before. If for any reason you want more of an answer on that, drop it into the questions channel now, and I'm sure Twicky will pick it up and maybe highlight it, and I'll come back to it. But hopefully the answer that I gave before was enough for that. Next, Phase 3, cities and land and game mechanics. My favourite thing. All right, C Prodigy. What will be the style of the gameplay? Will you be able to see your avatar move around, or will this be more of text and clicking based? Yeah, more of the latter. So we're not talking about like a 3D metaverse right now, a 3D area of the metaverse right now, like in sandbox or what have you. It will be more kind of text and clicking based. So if you kind of think back to some of the, don't know how old you are, so apologies if this makes me sound ancient, but think back to some of the kind of social media like Facebook games that were around, that kind of style. So engaging will tie back into Discord, will give you an area to go into. You'll be able to, it will be visual, so you'll be able to see your assets and your NFTs, but it's not a 3D kind of world that you move around in right now. Wouldn't rule that out for the future, but right now we're just trying to build something that is kind of as part of our universe as opposed to tying into everything else. Sphinx Reloaded. When can we expect to see the first cities, their landscape, and how plots and blocks will be allotted and bought? I'm a bit nervous about giving a date for this. My gut feel is that, and I've got a nervous look from Twicky as well, because she's the one that has to explain if I fuck it up and we don't launch on time. My gut feel is that we would love it to be January when real estate drops, but it's more likely to be February. But we will do going back to what I said before about timings, we will do our very best to have it done in January. That being said, you'll be able to see more around designs and artwork that we're putting together. So I'd be very, very, very surprised if you don't see the first real estate examples come through by the middle of January. But we'll need to move pretty quickly to make sure that can happen. So now I'm going to sit here and panic and rock back and forth for a second. I don't know my name. Hello, everyone. Thank you in advance for the extraordinarily good work with this project. The quality of the communication, Twicky, the concept and the YouTube videos are crazy. My question for the next AMA session, will normal hodlers be rewarded? That means if I got 5 multi-passes and minted the respective avatars, will there be a monetary added value without taking part directly in the game? Sorry for the bad English. That's not bad English. I don't know where you're from, but I guarantee that I speak way less of your language than you speak of English. So yeah, that's good English. That being said, I need to read that question. So will not hodlers be rewarded? That means I've got 5 multi-passes with respect to avatars without taking part in the game. Kind of, I suppose, is the answer to that. So the way that we are trying to build this out is that you don't need to sit on this game 24/7, like clicking buttons, like a virtual arcade machine or something like that. Having said that, you will have the option to play more if you have more avatars or you end up with more real estate and you want to do more things inside this game. That will probably reward you more than it would do if you take part more on a passive basis. So the answer is yes, you will still be able to be involved. No question of that. We'll make sure that that's the case. But you'll get more value or you will get more outputs if you spend more time and do more stuff within the game. So it's kind of yes, but not so much, if that makes sense, hopefully. As we start to share more details about the game and the mechanics as well, this will kind of all become a little bit clearer. So that will start to happen early next year. I think that is it for the questions, unless any more have been dropped in. No? Okay. Awesome. Again, thank you for your patience. Thank you for all of your support. Like the comments, so many people say like we love this project, and that means a huge amount. It genuinely does keep us going and keep us working through this, because it's hard work, but we absolutely adore it, and that's not going to change. So yeah, thank you again. We are going to drop into Discord and have a bit of a chat. We've got a voice channel as well where I'll pipe some Christmas music into, so you can have that on in the background if you want to. So yeah, if anybody's around, drop into Discord. I'm going to go make myself a whiskey and we can have a drink together. So yeah, again, thank you very much. I really enjoyed this AMA, and we will be back in early 22 for another session. Speak to you soon. Take care.